Do you think there's a need for a black Conservative group, and why?
I think there is a need. And when I saw this, that they decided to have this group, I was quite happy about this, because me being a conservative thinker myself, especially coming from an ethnic background, sometimes we tend to feel ostracised. We know, and we have to admit, that there has been racist undertones in the Conservative Party historically. And even though the law has changed massively to reflect, our current climate, to support ethnic minorities, historically, a lot of people's parents, grandparents are going to continue to tell their children, this is why we don't like the Conservative Party, even though times have changed. So, I think it's important that like-minded people, not that all ethnic minorities are the same, and just because you have brown skin doesn't mean you're all the same. However, it's a place that people can come together and reason and not feel ostracised if they feel ostracised from their own communities. So I think it's a positive thing. And when people suggest, this is identity politics, I think it's about intent. When it comes to the left, their identity politics is, steeped in victimisation. With this group, I don't think it's that at all. So I think it's positive.
Yeah, but I'm sure the left would say we have a good intent too. We want to unite people, and we say that black people must vote for us because we care about black people. Is it not still identity politics from the Conservative Party to say, look, this is a group for people of an ethnic minority status? And you said yourself, just because you're brown doesn't mean you think alike. Therefore, what is the point in it in 2022?
No, the point is that the Conservative Party, and this is me being a Conservative voter as well as a Labour voter and a Brexit Party voter, so, I don't commit to any party. However, my experience across the board is, sadly, the Conservative Party are not as welcoming. They're quite distant when it comes to ethnic minorities. And I think we need to understand that because of those historical issues within ethnic minority groups, that they need to feel that the Conservative Party are for them. And if we want to be able to win the next general election, especially get Sadiq Khan out of London, we're going to have to be communicative to those ethnic groups. And unfortunately, a lot of the areas are Labour strongholds. So they don't understand how it is to essentially be a Conservative or feel that they can even be a part of the Conservative Party.
All right, Emma, do you think we need to be playing the left at their own game? Is the Conservative Party distant to ethnic minorities, considering that the ethnic diversity of the cabinet is the most diverse we've ever seen in the country?
Yeah, I think I agree with one point that Lin Mei has made, which is that people... there's a huge amount of value in people who feel that they perhaps can't express their conservative views in their own particular social context or groups. I think there's a huge amount of value in people being able to come together and to feel like they're surrounded by like-minded people. And I would never be against people's right to assemble, but I think that this is completely counterproductive. And this is true not just of this particular group, but of all groups that are based on a particular identity. The same goes for women's groups. I don't feel that I am particularly represented by an MP just because they are female. In fact, I think that the person who represents me most in Parliament probably is Kemi Badenoch and someone like Lee Anderson, for example, or John Hayes. So, these are people who I agree with, and it has absolutely nothing to do with what identity characteristics they may share with me. And so I think actually, Calvin, you made a really important point on Twitter, and you were responding to another Conservative commentator who said essentially that this is a group for you, really. And you made the point that no one owns you. And I think that in that way, this is a kind of Faustian pact, because it's playing into the left's narrative on this. If we want to have a group that is truly welcoming and focused on equality, then it should be along true civil rights lines, not along the lines that Steve Baker, I think, misappropriated Martin Luther King for. It should be based on people's character and not the colour of their skin, the content of their character. Okay. And so I think that is the route that we should be taking, rather than focusing on all of these splinter groups that focus on dividing people by their identities.
I tend to agree with you, Emma, but Steve Baker got up on stage there at that event and said that footballers taking a knee was a good thing and it was a sign of solidarity. But then Suella Braverman got on stage at the Conservative Party the next day and said that actually taking a knee was a sign of aligning yourself with Black Lives Matter, which is a neo-Marxist organisation, something that police shouldn't be doing because it's political. Lin Mei, where do you fall on that?
No, I completely disagree with Steve Baker. We've always said that taking the knee is a political ideology. I understand that every footballer who did it was not politically motivated, and they did want to support you know, many people that feel disadvantaged, so that's why they did it. However, I'm strongly against that. But going back to what you said, at the end of the day, we want to win the next general election, and we need votes. And whether we like it or not, when it comes to the next generation, popular culture is led, even though they're a very small minority in the United Kingdom, popular culture is led by ethnic minorities. You just have to go into a supermarket or into a club and listen to the music. So we want to be able, as a Conservative Party, to be open to ethnic minorities so they feel that, you know, the Conservative Party is for me. It doesn't matter what happened historically. They're changing their strategy in terms of, you know, some of the ignorance that they had, and they did have a lot of ignorance historically. And this is why I think it's a good thing.
OK. I'm going to put it back to you because we hear a lot about votes and we need to appeal to different people's votes. Surely we should be appealing to them based on values rather than their ethnic status.
Completely. And I think, you know, going back to the point that you made about, you know, the certain groups, particularly on the left, who think that they, you know, well, this Conservative commentator basically making you, as you said, you know, acting as if they own you because they say that you are you know, a black person or a person of colour, and therefore thinking that you should have certain views or be in favour of certain things. And I think that the left take exactly that same position, that position of ownership. And I think that it's just a counterproductive way of going about things. And I think, you know, Calvin, you've made the point perfectly, you know, in the past that this should be about, you know, the content of your character rather than the colour of your skin.
But it's
and
completely
I think that
different. I'm sorry to interject here. It's completely different. And I think I agree with so many of the things that Calvin says, and I'm agreeing with some of the things that you're saying. However, this is an idealistic way of looking at it. We would love to only be judged by the character of ourselves. We would love to not see race. We would love all of these things to take place. However, as I said, if you're going to look historically at some of the things that took place, that can't be eradicated just because now we think, oh, the law is this way, so now the law is going to be equally applied. We know it's not.